morning, boys and girls. Well, probably mostly boys. Let's see here. Today I'm finally getting back to work on this Lionel magnet crane, and I've been putting this off for quite a while, mostly because I kind of lost interest in it. The reasons for that mostly have to do with having to sell my dad's stuff, which I finally did a couple months ago. But I figured I need to get this thing back together, and at least, if nothing else, back together and possibly running. So, I spent the morning familiarizing myself with the wiring diagrams, locating wiring diagrams, because it had been so long I'd forgot how this thing went together. Although in all reality it was a mess when I got it. My dad had rewired it sometime a long time ago and hadn't done a very good job. And the other thing I did was I had to figure out how many amps the motors and solenoids and the magnet draw was, because I'm going to be building a controller for this based on a plan that I found on the internet that someone had drawn up. And I was spending the morning designing a circuit board for those plans to make it easier to understand and easier to connect. And I found that the motor on this thing only uses around 1.5 amps, the one that turns the crane left and right. It controls the up and down. The solenoids pull about half an amp, and the magnet pulls approximately half an amp at 14 volts. This is all at 14 volts AC. So that eased my mind about designing the circuit board, how big I had to make the traces, how big the wiring needed to be for this, because I had done some research and I saw things that said that this thing pulls as high as 7 amps, which I found hard to believe considering what the wire was on the original controller. But anyways, so let's see what we got going on here. We have a pile of parts. We have an extra magnet that came from an MTH, from some MTH stuff. We have the original magnet. We have a crank. We have a pulley. We have the old controller, which is all busted up. We have the terminal that was underneath the bottom of the we have the old bulb, which still works. We have our string for the magnet, which is dirty but probably looks more authentic than. We have an extra one of these non-polarized special LEDs that I've picked up. What do we got in here? And we just have miscellaneous and sundry parts. So, and and the wires I'm going to use to wire. We have a wiring diagram. This is an original Lionel wiring diagram. And we have, I guess, what came from a service manual that shows what the components actually wire to. Took me a little bit to figure out how this thing worked, because I expected, like, there's two wires coming off of this coil, and I thought you would put current across them, but what you do is you put AC on one side and the other to ground, and that makes it go one direction, and AC and ground on the other side makes it go another direction. These two wires, the solenoids, work the same way. One is for one solenoid, one is for the other. And so then we have a socket for our light in the cab. And the connections for the magnet, that kind of stuff. So what I'm going to probably do first is we're going to get these wired up, and then figure out a way to secure the wires so they don't get, these don't get broken. And unfortunately, this wiring diagram is not clear as to, it says there's an inner field and an outer field, and the outer field is supposed to get a yellow wire, and the inner field gets a black wire. Let's see here. Alright, so this goes to ground, so that's this. Comes out, goes to this brush. Alright. This goes to here. And then there's two wires coming off. Based on how I see these wires going, it looks like this is the inner field. And the inner field is supposed to get a black wire. This video will probably be a long video. If you're a millennial, you may not be able to watch it. It's alright, I understand. But other people will probably sit through it. I may fast forward through bits of this. I may not. Okay, so I said this was the inner, and that gets a black wire. This wire I'm using I got from an old computer power supply. I think it's pretty heavy gauge stuff, but I'm not sure. I have to look at how... Oh! The cluttered bench strikes again. What is this stuff? This is 18 AWG, which means it can handle about, I think, 10 amps easily. We're not going to be putting that much through it. Alright, and the field wire gets a yellow. The outer field wire gets yellow. I think in my research I found that you could get by with as little as like 21 or 22 gauge wire. It only really needs to handle about 3 amps. If anyone's interested, this is April 20th, 2020. I'm in the middle of being quarantined. The whole state is, there I live. It seems to be working. I've been tracking infections in my state, and the numbers have dropped, or are starting to drop. Okay, we need to secure these wires so they don't get yanked or pulled or no, there's no hole in there. Alright. That's not going to work. Guess we'll have to leave that for now. Alright, now there's 2 coils here that both need to be, to get a wire attached. Okay, so this may not really matter much, but it looks like this one is the yellow wire and this one is the black. So that's what we're going to do. I'm basing this off of, I took pictures before and I did note that my dad for the most part kept the wiring colors correct. Cool a little bit. Trim off this burr. Alright, now the black one. And for those who don't know, what the solenoids do is they just shift what the crane will do, whether it goes left, right, or up, down. With the original controller, there was ways you could get it to go in two directions at once, but there was also ways in which you could lock up the motor, if I remember correctly. With the circuit that I got from the web page, supposedly it keeps you from being able to lock it up. I don't know, I have no way to test it. Alright, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock, well, I gotta wait and see. Alright, one last wire on this side, and that's the green wire. You know, I'm going to get some real solder for this. Alright, so that's that for the wiring. The next step is to get this thing on here. And before I do that, I'm going to open this. There's tabs in here for running the wires. So I'm going to open up some of these while I can get to them. Screws. Okay, so let's get this attached to here first. Actually, I need to do something with these wires. I think I'll bring them all to the middle. Alright, now unfortunately this thing isn't in the right position for me to get all the screws in. I'm just going to get in as many as I can, and then I'll come back later for the one I can't get in. Alright, that's a little bit of a tight fit in there. But it goes. These screws are all wallered out, so I may have to figure out some way later on or to fix them or put larger screws or something. See, that one doesn't even tighten. And if you're wondering what I'm doing, there's little tabs in here for holding the wires to make them look a little bit neater. Is there going to be enough room? Oh yeah, everything will reach. Oh, come on. That tab is folded down and I can't seem to get a hold of it. See if we can use this. All right. The wires are mostly hidden. Now you'll see that there's a couple holes here. That's for the wires to come down to. Then the terminal plate goes here. Actually goes like this, and there's just enough of these wires, I think, to stand by. There's just enough wires to fit in here. So put this together and then we fold these tabs down. But I have a visitor coming, so I'll have to continue this later. Okay. That was the wife. She had just come. She came out here because she's been watching too much Facebook, or reading too much Facebook, and getting freaked out over stuff she has no control over. Anyways, that's why I'm not on Facebook. Let's clean up a little bit of this, make some room. Alright, so what I've done, I've got all 4 screws in. This one was wallered out, so I had to put a screw with a nut on the other side, and got the tabs folded over, the wires run through. Let's make sure I've got, yeah. Is that right? 2 blacks, 2 yellows. And a green. Okay. So, I guess the next thing is my special little homemade bulb, and oh jeez. Oh yeah. This wire, this cord is no good. I just the slightest tug on it breaks it. All right. So what I need to do, I need to get some string, and I need to wire up this when I get the string, and the way this wires I believe this wire goes to here, and then the other wire goes to here. So I guess I'm gonna have to go in and find some string. I don't think I have any out here. Alright, I found some stuff. It's actually some very heavyweight fish line, and it's not the same thickness as the original cord, but that's fine. It's probably more scale. prototypical. Alright, let's see here. Alright, I need to have my head examined. Alright, this is probably correct, but I don't care. That's not what I want to do. I think there was originally just a knot cut in this and then run through the thing, but huh, okay. I think this is how it's done. I didn't pay any attention. Bad me. I guess we've all learned the importance that you should be taking pictures, because I didn't take enough. Trying to figure out how this runs. And I'll probably have to end up getting on the internet and searching, but oh, I'm sure this is riveting, absolutely riveting viewing. Okay, I'm gonna have to do some research, and I'm gonna have to look for some stuff. All right, well, I couldn't find anything useful. I'm gonna make it up as I go along. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wire in this magnet. I think we should title this "How Not to Wire Up a Lionel Crane." I understand some of you people do this for fun. Finally. Actually, let's turn this off and put a... Ow! Oh! All right. Alright, you don't need to see me struggle with this. I'll be back. Okay, so she's mostly back together. I'm going to wire this plate onto the bottom. You don't need to see me struggle with that because it's going to take a long time and it's really difficult. It'll be difficult to film it. So I think what will happen next is I may order that circuit board that I've designed, which will take 2 or 3 weeks to get here. But that's where we sit right now. Later. Okay, I lied. I mean, I'm not going to show you me soldering it, but so I got that on there, and these wires are all soldered. That's not the order that they're supposed to be, but it doesn't really matter. And I think there's one other thing I have to, this one will have to be, a wire has to go from here to one of these tabs for ground. So okay, that's it. Later.